The girl discovered during the night that many balloons had appeared in the yard. She followed the guidance of the red balloons and arrived at the basement. The balloon ghost asked the girl, "Have you thought about the answer?" She quickly checked the note in her hand, which read, "The ghost wants something she doesn't have, but the girl does." After hearing the scream, the adults rushed over to check, but they were locked inside the basement. The girl was also controlled by the balloon ghost. She launched an attack against the two of them. What exactly did the balloon ghost want? Was there any hidden truth in this? The story begins with an orphanage. The man's name was York. Not long ago, he and his uncle Carter renovated an abandoned villa. He was helpful, and he had dreams. He wanted to turn it into an orphanage. In fact, 40 years ago, this old mansion had also been an orphanage. Only 7 orphans had mysteriously died, which forced it to close down. York invited the Dr. Nora. She brought her niece Mary to this place. In fact, they all knew that this was a haunted house, but York and Carter thought it didn't matter. It had been 40 years after all. Even if there were ghosts here, they would have been reincarnated. A woman named Fong Fong. She was the hired teacher. She had known Nora for a long time. Moreover, previously, she had adopted 2 boys and a girl. The 2 boys were both normal and cheerful, and Mary quickly played with them. The other girl was named Nana, who was more introverted. At this moment, she was staring down into a well. It seemed that there was a basement down there. Why was the basement built beneath the well? And there were strange sounds coming from it. At night, everyone was sitting together for dinner. Nana was attracted by a white balloon outside. The 2 boys didn't want to sleep in the same room as Nana. They thought that Nana was always a bit strange. Upon hearing this, Fong Fong told them not to talk nonsense. She asked them to apologize to Nana. But what Fong Fong didn't know was that the boys were not wrong. After Nana came here, she developed a magical ability. She could see things that normal people couldn't see. The next second, a white ghost was watching them from outside. Nana wanted to tell Fong Fong that something was wrong with this place. However, Fong Fong thought that with so many of them, they were not to be feared at all. In the middle of the night, there was a sudden knock at the door. Fong Fong walked up to ask, "Who is knocking?" But she received no response. She only saw a white balloon. Fong Fong felt very strange. She tied the balloon next to the television. Just as she was about to do something else, she heard the sound of the television turning on. On the screen, 7 children were singing together. Fong Fong recalled what had happened 40 years ago, but she didn't think much of it. However, in an instant, a gust of wind rushed in through the window. Fong Fong glanced over and saw a ghost standing behind the curtains. After she was dragged outside, Fong Fong used all her strength to climb back up. She didn't expect that the ghost would launch an attack on her. It tightened its grip around Fong Fong's neck again and made her call out the name Ruth. Fong Fong was about to suffocate, so she had no choice but to comply. But by doing so, she fell into a trap. Fong Fong's eyes suddenly rolled back, indicating that the ghost had taken over her. Then she collapsed to the ground. Nana heard the commotion and came to check. Unexpectedly, she saw the white balloon and Fong Fong standing there in a daze. At this moment, the television played the images of the 7 children again. When Nana turned to look, she saw that several large words suddenly appear on the balloon. The girl was scared out of her wits. She turned and ran away in fright. After a night passed, the next day, Nora came to the kitchen for a drink of water. She saw Fong Fong outside washing clothes. Still mumbling something, Nora approached Fong Fong to check, but was pushed into the basin. When she finally broke free, Fong Fong had already disappeared. Nora prepared to go back to find York, but was again held down by Fong Fong. She was about to be scalded. Fortunately, York arrived just in time and pushed Fong Fong aside. Fong Fong was very angry. She grabbed a butcher's knife and stabbed York's arm. In order to protect Nora, York struggled with Fong Fong. He choked Fong Fong from behind. Even when he crashed into the cabinet, he didn't dare to let go. Finally, Fong Fong fell silent. In the afternoon, the children rushed to visit Fong Fong. Strangely, Mary saw in the mirror that Fong Fong had actually sat up, but when she turned to look, Fong Fong was no longer on the bed. At this moment, Fong Fong was standing behind Mary. She startled the girl, but the next second, she reappeared on the bed again. It seemed she just wanted to scare the girl. Mary was terrified. She quickly left the room. Carter was discussing these matters with York. They had heard rumors of haunting before, and now it seemed to be true. But now, it was too late to turn back. The investment had already been made. The two didn't know what to do. York believed that the priority was to find a way to stop the ghost from haunting this place. York went to look for some old newspapers from that time. Then he analyzed them with Nora. The reports showed that everyone at the time believed the teacher Ruth had killed the 7 children. In the end, they burned Ruth alive. After learning this, York made a guess. Could it be that Ruth was wrongfully accused? If that were true, then everything would make sense. Right now, Fong Fong was still bedridden. Nora was also very worried about her. But just as Nora used a flashlight to check Fong Fong's eyes, a terrifying thing happened. Fong Fong choked Nora by the neck. Upon hearing the commotion, York hurried over. He pulled Fong Fong aside, but when he turned to comfort Nora, he found that Fong Fong had vanished again. Immediately after, sounds came from outside. When they reached the living room, they discovered Fong Fong floating in the air. This ghost had great power. She lifted a cabinet and trapped York underneath it. The two could only watch. Fong Fong was dragged into the next room. Nora quickly ran over. She found Fong Fong floating above the piano. Little did they know, this wasn't over yet. Fong Fong was dragged by the ghost to the second floor. York pushed the cabinet aside and quickly followed Nora. They saw Fong Fong clutching a shard of glass. She had taken a boy hostage. York and Nora urged her to calm down. Fong Fong regained a bit of her awareness and returned the boy to them. Then she floated in the air, shaking her head. She was dragged to the staircase and fell down. Fong Fong lost her life as a result. The next morning, the mortuary staff drove over to take Fong Fong's body away. After everyone watched Fong Fong leave, a white balloon caught Mary's attention. She followed the balloon as it floated ahead. She arrived above the well. As soon as she grabbed the balloon, the lid of the well cracked open. Mary fell into the basement. When she opened her eyes again, she discovered that there were signs of someone living in the basement. The white balloon led her to a dress. Mary felt very strange, because the white dress was nailed to a wooden board. Suddenly, the board began to shake. The girl was scared. She mistook York, who came to find her, for a ghost. York comforted Mary. He was also surprised by the situation here. Meanwhile, Nora pried open the basement door lock. After some inspection by the group, they found some videotapes there. As Nora examined the dress, she accidentally stepped on a nail. She discovered that this nail was identical to those that were nailed to the dress. After York returned, he began to review the contents of the videotape. Nana saw a white balloon in the room, with a card tied to it below. It read, "I want to obtain what I do not have." Nana was just as confused. At this moment, the door suddenly swung open. The balloon led Nana outside. At the same time, York and Nora finally found the answer from the videotape. They discovered that 40 years ago, when the villagers were preparing to execute Ruth by fire, she had cursed the people of this villa. Everyone was a bit afraid. They invited a medium, which resulted in that dress being nailed to the board. But no one knew if the medium's ritual was effective. The two also learned that the white balloon was a sign of Ruth's manifestation. Nora felt that things were getting out of control. The most important thing now was to quickly take the children away from here. On the other side, Nana went outside, staring at the 5 white balloons. The 3 behind lit up and red one by one, as if guiding the girl to walk in that direction. She took the balloon and headed to the basement. Nana was stunned by the scene, but the next second, the balloons began to pop one after another. The ghost also appeared here. It turned out that her ultimate goal was Nana's eyes. The girl struggled desperately. Upon hearing the commotion, York and Nora rushed over. York held Nana down, preventing her from harming herself. Nora wanted to help, but was thrown aside. As York seemed about to be overpowered by the ghost, Nora grabbed a nail and stabbed it into the dress. Nana finally calmed down. They lifted the girl onto the bed. They recalled everything that had happened in this house. York decided to search for the journalist who reported on Ruth's story to learn more about the situation. But when he was ready to leave, the car wouldn't start. Fortunately, Carter was about to leave, so he took York along with him. After traveling for a while, York found the journalist's home. The journalist and his wife were both unable to see anything. The journalist's wife was the caretaker from the orphanage back then. After hearing York's experience, the journalist recounted what had happened back then. Ruth was indeed wrongfully accused. The real killer of the children was someone else. It was possible to make her disappear, but that meant finding the true culprit and clearing her name. Before they left, the journalist handed York 2 photographs. He stated that the person who killed the children was very likely the person in the photos. York didn't examine them closely. He returned to the villa in Carter's car. As he was about to move some documents from the trunk, he saw a black and white photo. It was a picture of a young Carter with Ruth. York felt very strange. He had never known that Carter had also spent time in the orphanage. York felt a bit scared. When he looked over at Carter in the driver's seat, he found that Carter had vanished. At this moment, Carter charged at York with an axe, screaming as he came at York. He was injured, so he quickly ran away. York was about to be killed by Carter. Ruth's ghost came to collect Carter's life, because she had learned the identity of the true killer. There's no need to elaborate on Carter's fate. After the ghost fulfilled her long-held wish, she successfully reincarnated. Thus, the film comes to an end. Ghost Balloon is a new Cambodian film released this year. It tells the story of many years ago, in an orphanage, where a blind teacher Ruth was wrongfully accused of killing the 7 children she cared for. As a result, she was executed by fire and died wrongfully. Her wronged spirit lingered in the orphanage, cursing those associated with the orphanage. Although there are many imitated plots and scenes, the creation of a horror atmosphere is excellent. This is a horror film worth watching. I recommend everyone to check out the original film. If you enjoy my channel, please give me a subscription.